Starting tonight, I'm taking back everything that belongs to me.
He doing everything he can to hurt us.
You gotta f with me first.
Baby brother, ready to get busy. He wants Rock's head on a stake.
That's a big move. That's a big problem.
So Unique is officially back. He slowly started to come out of the shadows over the last 2 episodes, where we saw him introduce himself to Phil Russo, Quan, Akbar from Trenton, which is where he got his soldiers from, and then we finally saw him come face to face with Rock. In 407, he's going to send a clear message, a warning, but he's also going to continue making new alliances. He's going to be approaching Snaps and Pop, and we all know they love an opportunity. He's made some big chess moves, while Rock and the Thomases were none the wiser, and also while their organization has actually been getting weaker. So, going forward, Unique has a big advantage because of the position that he's found himself in, and how Rock is spooked. I really don't know if she thinks she's hallucinating, whether it's a dream, or whether it's real. To throw more into this situation and making it more complex, let's not forget, Rock was also pregnant with Unique's baby back in 401. Patina Miller did tease a while ago, this is something that will cause complications a bit later on. Rock is also about to lose Joyce Thomas, issues with David and transportation of her product, lack of product because there's now a couple of weeks wait with Hafiz to sort out his logistics. So, in those couple of weeks where Rock is waiting to have her new pipeline up and running, will Unique be able to take control? We're going to dive deep into all of these scenes, as well as a few extra ones from previous teasers and trailers that do match up to all things Raising Kanan, episode 407. But let's start with the episode title and synopsis. Now the title of episode 7 is Allow Me to Reintroduce Myself, and the synopsis reads: Unique and his soldiers assume control over the corners of Queens, leaving Rock and Marvin in desperate need for more answers and more product. Kanan searches for a missing OC. Now there's no need to explain or break down the episode 7 title. I think the same as last week, it is self-explanatory. So, with that being said, episode 7 does seem like it will be picking right up from where episode 406 left off, which was Unique surprising Rock, and she really is about to be in for the shock of her life. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if for a second she doesn't even think it's real. Take a look at her facial expression as Unique grabs her in the trailer for episode 7. She's in a mad state of shock. This is someone right up in her face who she thought was dead for 6 months. That's how long it's been since the events that unfolded at the end of 305. She genuinely thought he was dead, so it's going to be a huge shock. We also know he believes Rock conspired against him, and I wonder if he mentions that early in 407. Whether we hear Rock trying to convince Unique that she had nothing to do with whatever happened to him. Regardless of whether she does or doesn't, we do hear Unique saying, "Starting tonight, I'm taking everything back that belongs to me." Now, I think Rock is going to be so shocked at seeing someone that she thought was dead. I personally don't think she's even going to be able to speak, which really is saying something. We know Rock can be very intimidating when she wants to be. She stands on business, speak when she wants to speak, and when she does, people normally do listen or bow to her demands. She hasn't always got her way, but she's never afraid to speak her piece. My personal favourite was her conversation with Snaps and Pop back in season 3. But here with Unique, I do think at first she's going to be absolutely speechless. Now to make the situation even more complex, Rock was pregnant with Unique's baby back in 401. They didn't just throw that storyline there in season 4 for no reason. It definitely will come back around. We had the conversation with Jukebox where she mentioned she probably could have loved him, and I think now that he's back, the termination of the pregnancy and everything else that's going on in Rock's life, business and personal, it's about to hit her like a ton of bricks, all at once. Now in terms of Unique's next set of moves, we've got Unique looking back to his good old self. He's got the fly jackets on, he's got his brand new white BMW, the chains are back around his neck, the bracelets, the rings. Unique is back to looking like he never left, but he's actually going to be back stronger than ever before. He's got Quan back as a connect, he's going to have the backing of Phil Russo, he's got soldiers from Akbar, and he's now about to make an alliance with Snaps and Pop. So let's talk about this alliance with Snaps and Pop in a bit more detail. Back in 304, Snaps mentioned that he also found Unique to be quite reasonable and thoughtful, and I think he's probably had a decent relationship with Unique back in the past. There did seem to be a bit of respect here from Snaps for Unique. Now we never saw them interact back in season 3, but we are going to see it in 407. So, going forward, I wouldn't be surprised if Snaps and Pop get involved in terms of potentially making a small investment into Unique's enterprise. We know Snaps and Pop are retired, but they love the fact that money keeps rolling in, and there's definitely no love lost between them and Rock. I also wouldn't be surprised if a bit later on, we see Kanan getting a proper introduction to Unique through Snaps and Pop. These are two characters who definitely know of each other. have seen each other before a couple of times across Raising Kanan. I think the last time was back in season 2, but we've never seen them interact. However, I do think we are getting closer and closer to them potentially meeting, and through Snaps and Pop is certainly one way it could potentially happen. So that's just a thought. But in terms of Unique's position at this moment in time in 407, he's looking really strong. He's got his crew, he's got his alliances, he's making new alliances, and he's also going to have Rock on the back foot with pretty much everything. So, just before we move on to the Thomas's perspective, this was one of the scenes from the official trailer that was released way back in February. Unique outside the Chinese restaurants, because I do believe this is actually Erwin. We're going to have Unique come back to the Chinese restaurants and maybe even take them back. But let's move on to the Thomases and have a look at this from their perspective.
Unique is alive as hell. He doing anything he can to hurt us.
You gotta fuck with me first.
Baby brother, ready to get busy.
Now with the Thomases, we know Rock is going to need all the help she can get, and that includes Lou. We've got Lou mentioning he's going to have to fuck with him first before he messes with Rock. And this is what I've been saying about Lou all season long, which actually goes back over a year ago. If his sister needs him, I did say he's going to be there. I've always maintained there was always going to be a redemption arc for Lou, and we definitely will see him standing on business at some point in these last couple of episodes. Now with Lou, I do think the fact that he's going to be there for his sister, him wanting revenge for Famous as well. I mentioned in my breakdown there may even be a few triggers with Lou, so those are 2, but B-Rilla is definitely another. That's something else we do need to keep an eye out for in episode 407 and beyond. When B-Rilla hits Mr. Girlfriend's stash, which he definitely will, Lou's gonna lose his shit. We all saw the way B-Rilla put his hands on Lou. He said he was gonna step outside before he does something he regrets, and I definitely think they're now building up to Lou turning again. It's just a question of who's gonna feel his wrath first. I think it's gonna end up being B-Rilla, so that's just a side thought when it comes to Lou. Definitely something to watch from 407 onwards.
That's a big fucking move.
That's a big fucking problem.
Now, we've also got a rocking conversation with Marvin, where she says that's a big move, but Marvin's right, it's a big problem. Unique is a huge problem. They're definitely going to have to do something. They are going to have to hit back, but they're going to have to be very smart, strategic. They're going to need to make sure when they hit Unique, he stays hit, because he's in a very strong position at this moment. I don't think anybody can guess in terms of how they're going to approach this inevitable war with Unique, which isn't just with Unique. Unique's backed by Phil Russo and also Quan, potentially even Snaps and Pop, and if you have that much backing, you're going to be one formidable force to be reckoned with. So, this could end up getting real messy for Rock, just when she made a deal with Hafiz and the Afghans. Hafiz made it pretty clear towards the end of 406, the bloodiest wars were fought over territory, and I don't think he'll want Rock to get into a bloodbath in Queens. That's something he'll definitely try to avoid. So, on the other side of Marvin and Rock's problems is their deal with Hafiz. They're about to get a shit ton of product come through, and I have no idea how Rock is going to be able to move it with the competition from Unique, which is why I said a couple of weeks ago, I wouldn't be surprised to see Unique come out as the real winner in season 4, maybe even making an approach to Hafiz himself. Let's wait and see. But let's take a look at Stefano's reaction.
Famous last words.
In a couple of previous teasers and trailers, we do hear him mention, keep your pistols in your pockets, and famous last words. Now I do think he is going to be as shocked as Rock when he realizes Unique is alive, because again, this is someone who he thought was dead. However, from the Italian crime family's point of view, they'll definitely want to avoid a war at all costs. They've got law enforcement looking in their direction, and the last thing they need after the ending of season 2 is another bloody war in the streets. But for Stefano, I think he may be in trouble in the next couple of episodes. Phil Russo's definitely got his eyes on him, but we know the Italians aren't going to do it themselves. Phil Russo will use Unique to soften him up, and then his own people will do it for him. So it's all about to be a huge chess game. Stefano and Rock will need to retaliate. They're going to need to make sure they put themselves in a strong position, because up against them is a very vengeful Unique. Now, just a side thought before I move on to Kanan and Jukebox, I wonder if anything happens with Stefano's business out in Corona in episode 407. We know it's not making that much money for Ellie Tyler's liking. That's after Stefano and Marvin's cut, and with all this shit that's going on around him, I really wouldn't be surprised if this throws a spanner in the works. So definitely want to keep in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if Ellie Tyler backstabs Marvin and the Italians and goes over to Team Unique. If it doesn't happen in 407, it may be one which plays out a bit later on. But moving over to Kanan and Jukebox.
You and me, we gonna take it back to the street. Be partners.
Now, we also saw how they put some real fear into Freddy's crew back in 406. They were looking for answers for who put down Fame, and it definitely wasn't Freddy's crew. They looked too weak to put down Famous. In my opinion, after watching episode 406, I'm definitely ruling them out. I will definitely create a updated Who Did It video based on the new information from Detective Garcia. But listening to this conversation from Kanan and Duke, they're going to take it back to the streets. They're going to be on the hunt once again. They're going to put some fear into more people to try and get some answers. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did drop a body or two on the way to those answers. This Jukebox is definitely different. We're about to see the real savage side to Jukebox, and why Tommy once called her a crazy bitch back in Power Season 4. We're going to see it in real time. We're going to see Marvin handing a gun to Jukebox, which is the opposite of what he said in 406. So this is actually a scene from the original teaser that they released back in October 2024. He didn't want Juke to turn out like he did, he wanted her to be different. But I think he's going to realize it's way too late for that. The way we saw Rock put a gun in Kanan's hand way back in Season 1, Episode 1, it's now Marvin's turn. So, let's see whose direction Duke points a gun in 407. Someone's definitely going to feel the wrath of Duke, that's for sure, and also Kanan. Both of them are going to turn it up a notch. But that's a breakdown of the trailer for Season 4, Episode 7. Let me reintroduce myself, which is where Unique will finally step back into the streets. He's going to continue making alliances, and he's going to continue making Rock's life living hell. She's going to need everybody to stick together, and she's also going to need the help of Lou. In terms of famous, let's see what Duke and Kanan find out from the streets, because I'm pretty sure they will get one step closer to the truth, although I'm not sure if it will be revealed in 407. But drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, let me know what you think happens in the final 4 episodes of Season 4. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.